48 years old. I responded down to Ground Zero 9/11 on September 11th, 2001. I was a police officer. It was a Tuesday, and I went to it was a delegates meeting for the whole state. So around 8 o'clock, I got into a car, and it was a Riverdale police officer, and we were driving to Edison to go to a PBA meeting for the whole state. And we heard it on the radio that a plane had hit the trade center. And we were probably about 45 minutes from the PBA meeting. And by the time we got there, it was probably like maybe 9:15, 9:20, and everything had already happened. Like everybody knew, that both buildings had been hit, and that they were telling different police departments, to go back to your prospective police department and see what they want you to do. And at the time, there was some type of, I guess it was like a teletype from the state of New York saying that if you were 45 miles from New York City, and you were, what do you call it, a first responder or police officer, they wanted you to, they asked for help. So I left Edison and I drove back to my police department. And when I got there, my two brothers had come from their police departments. I didn't know they were coming to mine, but they had come to my police department. And we were going to go down to Ground Zero, at around, I guess it was like maybe like 11 o'clock or whatever. And we were getting dressed in my police department. We were going to go down to, New York City to find my father. My father was a Port Authority police officer, and he was working at the Holland Tunnel. And all their radio communications had been shot that day because of the towers. When they fell, there was no radio communication. So there was no cell phones communications either. So I couldn't get a hold of my dad, and we didn't know if he was alive or dead. So we jumped in the car. The three of us, we took my brother Chris's car. He was driving, put a little red light on top of it, and we head down to New York City. When we got to like 1 and 9, I remember that they had all the roads were closed and you couldn't get through it. So we were driving on the wrong side of the road to get to where these two police officers had blocked everything and were making everybody go down. I think it was Fish House Road or something like that.
You were on the wrong side of the road.
And we were on the wrong side of the road going down, and they saw us and they stopped us, and they saw that we were police officers, and they opened up the cones and they kind of gave us a salute, and said good luck. And then we went. We were like the only cars on 1 and 9. And then we got to the Holland Tunnel, and as soon as we got to the Holland Tunnel, we were like 3 blocks away, and I just saw the left hand or the right side, there was a car coming, and I knew that it was going to hit us. I just knew, like it was happening really fast. And I grabbed my brother's wheel, and when the second I grabbed the wheel to pull it down, this lady hit us from the side and spun us around into a telephone pole. And when we got out, there was all smoke and everything. And my brother Chris thought that I had caused the accident by pulling the wheel. He didn't even know we were hit. Like, it happened so quick. He was like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "We just got hit. That lady ran a red light."
Yeah,
and so we got out of the car to go look at her, and she was covered in dust. And I didn't understand at the time, why she was dressed like that or what was wrong with her. And she was hysterically crying, and she had explained to us that she had just got out of the city and she didn't know any other way to get home, and had all the roads blocked off, and she was just going straight, and that's what she was doing. And she was a school teacher, I believe. And she hit us, and when she hit us, the police officer that was standing on the post had witnessed it, and he came over and he was like, "Oh my God, you guys all right?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're here to find my dad." And he was like, "Who are you?" And we're like, "We're Mike Megna's son." And he was like, "Oh my God, yeah." He said, "Your dad's alive." He goes, "I haven't seen him, but he's definitely alive. He's somewhere, I try to get a hold of him, but the radios are down." And as he was talking to us, my dad just happened to pull up in the police car, and he was looking, and he was so shocked to see that it was us, so he was like, what are you doing here?" And we were like, "Dad, you all right?" And he was covered in dust too. And he was just like, he was in shock. He was like, "They're all gone." He says, "Neil, McNeil, Webb, Foreman. Those were his partners that he worked with at the Holland Tunnel. And he was with them for 21 years. And if you back up in '93, my dad had done the World Trade Center when it was bombed. And those three guys also did it with him. And my dad would always talk about, like, when he watched on TV, he would see like this, fat lady, and they were carried by two New York City policemen. And my dad would always say, those New York City cops always got the glamour. He goes, we took that lady, 89 stories down. We got to the bottom of the Trade Center, and there was New York police saying, like, oh, we got her from here. And they walked outside, and, they were on TV. And my dad said, if you watch all the '93 bombing, all you'll see is New York City police, but you'll never see Port Authority. We were always up top bringing everyone down. And then New York got all the credit for it. And I remember him always saying that. And then when it happened in, 2001, because those were the guys he went over in '93, and they set up a perimeter, and they set up this, and they did all this stuff over there because they were from the Holland Tunnel. It wasn't that it wasn't their jurisdiction. It was post. It was a different Port Authority, but it wasn't their sector, I guess you could say. So they went over there in '93, and they set up a thing, and they had a different sergeant and everything. So on 2001, when it happened, my dad was just about ready to get in a car with those three individuals, and a sergeant showed up and told him, Mike, you stay back and get rid of the traffic. And he said for McNeil, Foreman, and Webb to go, and they went, and they died. And my dad has that guilt, that survivor's guilt that had he been in the car with them, he would be dead too. So anyway, we got to the city, I guess around 1 o'clock. I remember my first, after the car accident and everything, I remember getting into the car with my dad, and I said, the three of us want to go to the city and help out. So he drove us into New York City, and I remember the first thing I saw coming out of the Holland Tunnel was there was a guy in civilian clothes. He was wearing I guess he maybe was homeless or something, but he was directing traffic in the middle of the street. He was wearing like camouflage shorts, and you could see that he wasn't a cop, but he was standing in the middle of the street directing traffic. And I looked at my dad. I said, "Who's that?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, well, "What's he doing?" He goes, "It looks like he's directing traffic." And I was like, is he allowed? He goes, "Everyone's trying to help out right now." So I just found it weird that there was just civilians in the middle of the street, New York City, directing traffic. And when I say directing traffic, my dad was listening to him. He was in a cop car. He was stopped. Like the guy had his hand up, like for him to stop, and everyone listened to him. It was just something strange that, because the lights were out. There were no lights, So my dad brought us into the city, and he dropped us off, and we were probably a couple of blocks from, ground zero, as they called it. And it was just, it was crazy. We walked, there was certain sides you couldn't walk by it because the fire was so hot that the heat, like you turn around and you come to this one block, and it was just so hot you couldn't advance anymore. So you'd have to turn around and go to where you could, like get to it. And I remember seeing a plane tire in the middle of the street. Like that was one of the first things I saw. And you couldn't not know it was a plane tire. It was a plane. It was a huge plane tire. And it was just, it was crazy. We started looking for people, and I remember seeing there was a couple of people that had been, dead, but they it just looked like they were laying down. I guess maybe something had hit them in the head. Like they weren't in the building. They might have been at the bottom of the street walking, and the towers fell and they hit them, and they were laying there. And it was just, I remember like seeing this lady, and I was seeing if she was alive, and I was feeling her pulse, and she was dead. And there was a lot of dead people like that. And there was a hole in the middle of the street, I remember, that was like, it went down like 50 stories or whatever. I just knew if I fell in that, they would never find me again. So you had to watch where you were walking, because you didn't want to fall into a void. And at the same time, as we were walking, there was glass that was falling. And I mean, big, like things of glass, because we were walking by the buildings, and the buildings had all the windows blown out. And we would be walking, and all of a sudden just shit would fall, and it didn't hit us, but it would land like 10 feet in front of me. And I'm talking like a piece of glass that was like, like the size of a car, and it would land. And I was like, holy shit, that was close. And we looked for people up until I didn't find anybody alive. We didn't find anybody alive. We just saw, a bunch of dead people, civilians. It was really hard to comprehend that too, because just the way the city was, it looked like a movie set. Like it just didn't look real. It was frustrating in the least to look at it and know that was, New York City. And it was it was crazy. So then I remember the three of us walked around looking for people, like climbing over different buildings, going into buildings, searching voids. And then I guess separated. I don't know when what I do remember was I don't know if I was with my brother Mark or Chris, but I remember building 7. I guess it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were walking towards building 7, and we heard 3 like distinct horns, like loud horns, like wham wham wham, and I thought they had found people, and I was like, what the hell is that? And he's like, I don't know, because maybe they found people. So we started like hurrying up, walking towards the sounds, and as we were walking towards it, we could feel the ground starting to tremble. And then all of a sudden we looked up and we saw all these people like coming around the corner of the city, and they were running, and we looked at them and they were like, run, so I turned around, I started running, and I could feel the earth like started to tremble, and that building fell, and we were only a couple blocks from it, and I remember when the building fell, I was running for my life, and I don't know what road it was. It might have been the West Side Highway, but a fire engine had I saw was, like going down the street, and they saw us running and they slowed down, and I ran to the back of the fire truck with my brother, and we jumped on the fire truck, and they took off down the road, and they stopped, like, because when we jumped on the fire truck, we just escaped all that smoke, like that debris and all that stuff. Like we had jumped on the fire truck, and they had taken off down the West Side Highway, and then they stopped on the side of the road, and we were hugging him. We were like, dude, thank you so much. And he's like, that was a close one, we're like, yeah. And I honestly, after that, I don't really remember much. I can't visually remember. I mean, I stayed in the city from 5 o'clock till at least like 2 o'clock in the morning, after the building fell, but I really don't remember all of that. I just don't. I remember getting off the fire truck, and then I just have a void. I don't remember. And
any of your other brothers want to add anything?
Yeah. I'll put my brother Mark on. He's my youngest one. Hold on one second.
How are you all, Mark? I'm Mark Megna. On 9/11, you wanted to, it was my second day of the police academy, and so we didn't know anything yet. So I was in the academy for juvenile detention. So about 9, I guess when the first plane hit, I got a phone call in the academy. So they're obviously they're yelling at me. They're like, "You got a phone call? What do you think you're special?" So I get to the phone. It was my brother Chris, and he told me that a plane hit the world, hit one of the towers. So then I went back into my classroom for the academy. And then I got a second phone call that the second plane hit, and went back into the class, told the class that everyone was like, "What are you, crazy?" I'm like, "No, I said a plane hit." We had no clue because there was no TVs. And then the third phone call I got was when the first tower, I guess tower 2, whatever tower collapsed first. So then my brother said, I'm coming to get you at the police academy. So he came, we talked to the director, they closed the academy. And at the time I was working for Joe Clark, and we called my director at the detention center, my brother Chris did, Joe Clark, and he said, go find your father. So at that point, me and my brother Chris left the police academy, and we headed to South Mountain Reservation to see what we could see, and to see what the damage was. And when we got there, we were just amazed. We were like, "Holy shit, there's nothing left." So we didn't know the extent of it because I didn't have a TV or, you know, anything. I just left the academy. So then, like, as Mike was telling you, from that point on, me and Chris, you know, we met up with Mike, and same thing. When we got to the Pompton Lakes Police Department, we went to I remember we went to the first aid squad and we filled up my brother's truck with all kinds of triage stuff to bring with us just in case, you know, they needed extra stuff. And so then we got to the city, and like Mike was saying, when we got out of the Holland Tunnel, it was like a movie set. It was something you can't even imagine. It was it was surreal. And I was the one that was running with Mike from when the building was falling on the fire truck. So it's up until that point, like Mike said, at that point, I don't know how I got home, how I got to my car. I don't remember days afterwards. Like, I just don't remember the whole time afterwards. And that's really it. Mike pretty much summed everything up of what we saw.
Did Chris want to add anything?
Yeah, he does. Hold on.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having us, number
Thank
one.
you.
So I was 6 months, 7, I don't know, maybe a year on the job, and I was working at the Gibraltar building, which I worked for the Essex County Sheriff's Department. So I was working the employee entrance, which I believe was Academy Street. I was working with an officer, a female. I mean, I don't know if you want me to say names. I know names. I remember a lot. So I'm working with Evelyn, and a lady comes in, and she says, "Oh my God, a small plane just hit the Trade Center." I was living with my father in '93 when the bombing happened, and that was one of the scariest days of my life because he didn't come home. And we knew he was involved with that, me and my stepmother. And you know, when he came home, he said, "Sons of bitches," he goes, you know, they wanted to bring our towers down where it's country, you know, but he was real upset, you know, like my brother said, he was upset about the glory on other people. And, you know, but he always talked about, like, you know, they're never going to stop till they bring the towers down. And I was living with my dad a lot, so I had to hear him all the time, you know. And when that lady said a small plane hit, I looked at her, I said, "That was no accident. We're under attack." She goes, "Oh, no, sweetie. It was an accident." I said, "I don't think so." I ran in off my post. Now, when you're working a courthouse and you're assigned to these security posts, you are the officer with a gun. You can't leave. So I ran in and I looked at the security guard with no gun. I go, "I got to go. We're under attack." And she goes, "Yo, you'll get fired if you run off your post." I said, I got to go. And I ran into the command center, and my captain, he was real strict. And he says, "What are you doing off your post?" And I was screaming, "We're under attack." And they were looking at me like I was nuts. And all the guys are like, "Dude, relax, you know, it's a small plane." I said, "No." They're like, "Well, we're going upstairs to the judge's chambers," because they had like the TV up there. So we all went up there. The time they got the TV situated, Tower 2 was hit. And that's when they were like, or whatever tower was hit. And they were like, "Oh my God." And then we stayed there and we watched them fall. We heard about the Pentagon and we were all in disbelief, like, "Oh my God." And I was mad at my captain, especially when the buildings fell, because, you know, I was just like, really, I wanted to leave and go find my father, and he held me back. But he was like, looked at me and he says, "Megna, get out of here." And I left. And like Mark said, I don't remember even calling the academy. That's what's crazy. I really have no idea that I did that. But what I do remember is coming in that area sideways when I turned into the academy. I was going there so fast to get my brother, and we ran in, and the director was this guy, Charlie Ossack. He was the greatest guy, and he was like, "What the heck?" And I said, "Charlie, we're under attack. I need Mark." And he goes, "Oh, you know, we got to dismiss the academy," you know. And I think they round everybody up outside, if I remember correctly. And they said, "Listen, this is Officer Megna. He just informed us that, you know, our nation's, you know, being attacked. The Pentagon was hit. I want you all to report to your commands." So I was the one that dismissed the Essex County Academy because they had no freaking clue. The director looked at me and trusted me because he knew my father. He knew me, you know. And I got Mark in the car and I said, "We're going to get Mike." And I didn't know where Mike was. I just figured go to his headquarters. And but I wanted to show Mark because I saw those things. I saw those buildings fall, and it was just something like, "Oh my God." And I had to show Mark because he wouldn't believe me. "No way, dude." He goes, "There's no way, man." I go, Mark, I'm going to bring you to the High Lawn Pavilion. And when we pulled over there, that's a beautiful spot in Essex County that you could like overlook the city. And all it was like dust. And Mark's like, dude, I'm like, Mark. And Mark was young, like, you know, he's my little brother. And, you know, he wasn't a cop yet. And he was just like in disbelief. He was in the training and it was like, oh, I've seen some things. I don't know, like he didn't see things yet. Mike's seen things as a police officer. And it was disturbing. So we got in my truck and I had a new truck. We flew down to Pompton and my brother came out of his headquarters and he was like, come on, you know, we're going to go down. We went to some first aid, like they said. We loaded up and I said, I'm not taking my brand new truck into the city, man. We went to my house in Belleville. We switched vehicles. We had a red light, like Mike said. I remember going down the highway. We were on the wrong side of the highway. Some blue light special guy, that's what Mark would call him, was like, we got in front of him and he was like kind of moving cars. And then a real cop came and then we were like behind him. And then all of a sudden, like Mike said, Fish House Road. I remember a Kearney cop was standing there and he moved the barricade. And when we went on 1 and 9, like, and that was a busy highway, it was like that movie Daylight with Sylvester Stallone. I'll never forget it. It was completely desolate. There was nobody on the friggin' road at all. Like, this isn't real. And I'm driving, I was moving. And we kept reminiscing about my father because we figured he would be dead because we knew he was going to respond. We knew he would be there, and just to watch those buildings fall. How is my father alive? It was, you know, crazy. So we make it, we get into that bad car accident. Like Mike said, it was actually a female cop, Sharon. It was my dad's friends, his partner's friend. So she informed us, that's what like Mike said, about he was alive. We didn't know where. I never saw my old man cry. He wasn't the type to cry. When he got out, when he found us, when he just appeared, it was like, oh my God, my dad was like a wreck. Yeah. And he was a wreck. So he just said, come on, boys. And he took us through the Holland Tunnel. And I remember the movie Godzilla. Like, that was one of my movies when I was a kid, I was scared of. And when I was walking through there and my neck was like this, looking up on these buildings that were just piled, like, and like Mike said, the heat on some, oh, it was intense. You couldn't even move. And I kept saying to my dad, is this really? It's like Hollywood. He goes, look at this. Look what they did to my city. He was so angry. He was like, you know, look at this. I'm like, you know, and then I remember being separated from Mike and Mark, and my dad's like, son of a bitch, where'd they go? I told him to stay by my side. And he was getting, I'm like, Dad, it's okay. And then we heard the horns, and then we weren't like right where buildings number 7. We were like on the other side or something, me and my father. After the building fell, he was like, gee, he was so mad. He's thinking that Mike and Mark are dead. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know where they are. We finally reunite with him, and he was yelling at them, and they're like, Dad, we jumped on it. And he's like, but if you ask my father, he don't remember it. He said to me, I told you not to come. That's all he'll say. I don't even remember you being there. It's crazy. So now we stayed there for a long time. You know, we were right in the heart of this. Like, I remember, like, and I took a lot of pictures and stuff too, which you weren't supposed to, but like, you know, it was like, oh my God, you know, had a little disposables back then, which actually helped when we had to register into the program. They got all this proof and stuff they needed from you, which thank God, you know. But me and Mike, when we got in that car accident, Marky landed on our backs, and I thought, like, I didn't know what happened. Mike was like, we were in a car accident. So I'm like, get off of me. So Mark's like, oh man, what the heck? Well, Mike broke his shoulder. Like, he really hurt his shoulder bad, and he was complaining immediately. And I'm like, yeah, dude, Mike, I'm like, my neck, but you know, young, strong, you know, you're not thinking about that, the adrenaline. We wind up going to the hospital like late that night, like 3 a.m, because I remember I saved an armband, and you know, I was like, wow, I don't remember a lot. And then I'm like, wow, I was here at this time. Then I found like a police report that says that we got into the city, like we were in a car accident at 1:30. So like my dates were like, oh, okay, I thought we were there a little earlier. So I had to like, really, I had proof, you know, and it helped me reflect and remember some more stuff, because I'm pretty good. Like, I don't remember some stuff, but then some stuff comes. And if I talk to like guys that I brought down there, they're like, yeah, remember this? And I'm like, holy Christ. Yeah, I do remember that. So, you know, that night, that morning, I never went to sleep. I know Mike didn't either. I know that I went to work and my captain said, I was in the same clothes. They were disgustingly, they were white. And he says, did you even sleep? I said, no, sir. He said, go home, sleep, and go, go help your father. So I said, thanks, Cap. And I remember signed in. I friggin' got on the phone. I called my buddy Dean. I said, Dean, I'm gonna go home. It was like 8 in the morning, 9, 10. I said, I think I slept for 2 hours. He was at my house at 10, and we went on Wednesday from like 10 on. But I don't know if you want me to continue with my stuff now or give it back to Mike and he can tell about his days, or what would you like us to do?
Well, all of you are suffering from 9/11 illnesses, including your dad, correct?
And our uncle. Yeah, there was 5 in our family. And my uncle was a lieutenant on Newark. And he responded. We never even, he went with Newark, not with us 3. But yeah, he's also sick. And then my father, and then my brother Mike, my brother Mark, and myself. I mean, if you want me to start.
Just a question here. Did you all volunteer on the pile after this, or was this your only time?
After that day, Tuesday, which was like, I guess 9/11 was on a Tuesday, which was 11th. The 12th was Wednesday. I went in with Dino, who was in the Marine Reserve. So I told him, dude, you're not a cop, just wear your uniform. There's Army people all over the place. So they weren't really cracking down yet. So we went there. We would meet with my father at post 20, which is where he worked, and then he would drive us right in. So me and Dean were there on Wednesday. We were digging and, just there for like 10 hours. On Thursday, I went back, and Thursday is when, I guess, when building number 7 fell, like people don't realize, it buried other people, because on Thursday, we uncovered a New York City fireman and a Newark fireman, like 10, 15 feet under the ground. I got like pictures of that when they came out. It was bizarre because we were like, how the heck did a New York City fireman and a Newark fireman get trapped together? And then that's when it clicked to me, was that had to be from the rubble. That's the only logical, unless they fell in a trap, because like Mike said, you would walk and there would be like, whoa, you can't go that way. That's like 20, 30, 40 feet. I remember being so naive. There was steam coming out and I had my glove on, but I went and it burnt me so bad through it was like an oven. And somebody goes, what are you, nuts? He goes, that's coming from the ground, bro. And I'm like, dude, I didn't think. I was a kid. I'm like, what's that? That really. But so anyway, on Thursday, we were there, and we actually, on, I think Wednesday is when that was what's crazy. Wednesday, when me and Dean went back, we found a bar like around, like that's when we were really starting to like skirt our way around. I was getting to know like the ins and outs of like, you can't go that way. You got to go through this gateway building, climb through, go down the stairs. It was a huge area. And once you learned it, you had to do these routes, or you couldn't get from one area to the next. So on Wednesday, we found I think Wednesday they blew the Millennium Horn, right? Wednesday, Mike? One of the days, I can't remember, me and Dino, it was, they blew the horn. It was whatever the day they thought the Millennium Building was going to fall. It was swaying a lot. So we were on the actual pile, and it was crazy. We started running for our lives. And there was like my brother Mike, he hopped on a fire truck. Well, me and Dean, we saw this garbage truck, and it had a flat face, like not like a garbage truck in the country, like it was a city garbage truck. And we jumped on the bumper and we grabbed onto the windshield. We were like, go, keep going. We were screaming at the guy, and he was an African-American driver, and he was like trying to maneuver this truck, and he was doing a phenomenal job, but we saw everybody running for their lives. And I'm like, slow down. And we tried helping people onto the garbage truck. Well, me and Dino, we helped these 2 people on the garbage truck, and it was a father and a son. And this garbage truck got us all the way to Fulton Market. So I don't really know how far Manhattan, where the ground zero was, to Fulton Market, but it took us like an hour and a half and some change to walk back. And we were like, where are we? Had to figure our way back. I wasn't like familiar with the city like that. I was a Essex County sheriff, not a New York City cop, and that was the day too that I saw, which I thought was crazy. Mike, I remember seeing that it was a homeless guy, by the way, directing traffic. So I was like, what the heck? And I was seeing Newark police officers that I knew driving New York City police cars, patrolling New York City, which was like, what the heck? But everyone did, like, I remember, like Mike said, body parts. I remember on the day with Dino on Wednesday, a trooper, a state trooper, New Jersey state trooper, was running with a bag of body parts throwing up. And me and Dean were like, oh my God. So I ran to help him, and I grabbed the bag, and there was like some makeshift morgue, and there was people in it, like, you know, and I handed him the bag, and I opened a door, and I saw like just things that, like, I don't know what they were. They were, you know, they were body parts. And me and Dean were like, holy, you know, my God. And he's like, dude. And then when we were walking back, somebody screams my name, Megna. So I'm like, who knows me in this city? And it was this Richardson, one of the kids I worked in juvenile with. He was, as soon as this happened, he was Army National Guard. He got activated immediately. Yeah, you work with Richardson. Mark, you work with him too. So with this kid Richardson, I knew him in juvenile. Now I'm a sheriff, and he sees me and he calls me out. And I ran back to him like, what's up? He goes, dude, I'm activated. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I'm like, be careful, bro. You know, and I actually wind up, that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I didn't see the president. My brother was there when the president was there. Saturday, I went back by myself. Sunday, Friday, I took this girl Muzio with me. She was a female from the Essex County Sheriff. Everybody wanted to go, and they knew my father. Like, you know, he worked there. So I had like the connection, and working in Newark, it was 20 minutes to the city. So, hey, Chris, can you bring me over? I'm like, yeah. So I took the one girl on Friday and Sunday, and then guys from the department, they heard that I was going over, and they asked me, hey, can you bring me over? So I took like 5 dudes, and we met my father, and my father drove us in, and we dug all night that night. We did that like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, the Essex County Sheriff calls me in, and I'm like, oh no, I'm in trouble. Because when he calls you, you know, it's not good. And he said, listen, do not bring one more officer over to the city. Are we clear? I said, yes, sir. He goes, you can do what you want. That's your father down there. I know your father. You want to go help, do what you got to do, but do not. I said, yes, sir. So then the guys were like, are we going today? I'm like, no, dude, you can't go with me. Find your own way. And I think after the first week and a half, it was so tight down there with the Army National Guard and FEMA. Like, and the only reason why I was getting in because of my dad. You know, my dad had a Port Authority car. You meet him in Jersey. You went over with him. He dropped you off. We were digging with the Port Authority guys, like, you know, all his guys that lived, the younger kids and everything else. And I just kept going back because I'll be honest with you too. I was young, and I was living on my own with my girlfriend, and I wasn't the best, like, cooking for myself. And my father would say to me, Chris, Port Authority, they got all these great cooks and chefs, because the Port Authority is like the best agency around. They really took, in restaurants were helping. So I would get out of work, and I go have dinner with my father, which was the best. You know, I'd ask him how he was feeling, you know, and he's like, well, we didn't find anybody today. He was really, really searching for his friends. He like, I got to say, you know, in the beginning, and then my father became like the guy, if you needed something, he knew the area, and everybody made him do different things. And my father was one of those cops that if you needed something, you went to my father. He was that guy. And I was there for about a month and a half. And I think after, like I said, even my girlfriend, who's my wife, she used to say, can you leave your clothes at the bottom of the stairs? You smell like dead people. I'm like, dude, I don't smell anything. She goes, Chris, I worked in a hospital with a morgue. You smell like dead people. Please. I don't know what's on your clothes. And I used to have to get undressed at the bottom of our, you know, stairs, leave all my stuff and run up, and she made me jump in the shower. And I never even knew I stunk. And, you know, after a while, I had my helmet, like I had a white helmet and I remember, like, when we moved, I threw it away. I was just like, fuck, excuse me. I get so angry, you know, especially like, especially now being sick and my brother, like things, like I look at things and I'm like, you know what? I don't have an interest. You know, when I talked to him, like, especially I knew we had to talk to you guys, like to you. And I called Dean and I'm like, hey, what do you remember? And he was like, blah, 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 blah. You know, and I called the guy in the the garbage truck. he's actually the Warren County Sheriff, and he's got conditions wrong with him. I reunited with the Warren County Sheriff because right now with any of my friends that I took, I know they're sick and nobody wants to get help. And with the deadlines and everything else, I feel like I have to speak, and maybe like what you're doing. I feel like to my friends, hey, I took you there. I feel responsible. Like the narcotic division, for instance, I worked in narcotics for a while in Essex County. And I remember seeing the day of 9/11, that day, and then like maybe midnight, they were positioned on the West Side Highway. They were just sitting there like they were covered in dust. And, I always said to myself, man, I want to get in that unit one day. And when I got in that unit, I was due for my annual 9/11, WTC medical monitoring program at Dr. Udison. And I had to go to my director and say, hey, I got to go to be screened for 9/11. He says, for what? I said, I went down there. He goes, how did you go there? I explained to him. And a couple of the guys were like, Megna, you went down to ground zero? I said, yeah, I saw you. I saw you. I saw you. And they're like, you did? I go, yeah, you guys were standing there. I'll never forget it. Well, out of some of those guys, my friend Daryl, I think in 08 or 10, cancer, they had no idea what was wrong with him. My partner, I made him register in 2016, I think. And he's like, dude, they won't believe I was there. I said, dude, you were there. The sheriff sent you. He wound up getting prostate cancer. So everybody's catching stuff. So all my friends that, like, again, I have friends right now that I call and they won't even answer the phone. Like I'm some type of like harasser, but I just like feel obligated. I took you there. Please get checked.
Chris,
I'm watching.
tell us about your health issues.
So I don't know. I was going every year to Dr. Udison, just going there and, taking breathing this and breathing that. And in 2002, I realized I was getting a lot of sinus infections. And I would go to my primary care doctor and, I had a kid. So if I was sick, go back to work, man, I got to make money. And I was sick like bronchitis, like 14 times. And he was just like, dude, you should have never went down to ground zero. So anyway, when I got diagnosed, this is what I got diagnosed with: chronic rhinitis, chronic sinusitis, chronic laryngitis, chronic bronchitis, upper and lower respiratory disease. They found a 20% blockage in my right lower airway. And that was the thing. I kept saying I was sick. And they're like, well, you're not showing, you're breathing well. And I'm like, well, why do I take all these inhalers and all these pills? And I was getting angry because like they didn't want to like get to the bottom of it. Finally, Dr. Sotalongo, she was our pulmonary specialist. She's like, well, you know what, Mr. Megna, I'll have to go in and look with a scope. I said, I don't care. Whatever you got to do, let's figure it out. When I came out of recovery, she had to look like I'm sorry, because I was like, why are you looking at me like that? She says, because I really didn't think I was going to find anything, son. And I found something. I said, what? She's like, you have like a polyp, it's like a cyst in my right lower airway, my capillary. And what happens when I get a common cold, it swells, it flares up and it blocks my thing. And then I get immediately chronic bronchitis. So right now I have a permanent wheeze. If anybody stuck a stethoscope to me, they're going to be like, you're wheezing. I'm like, no, I feel great. Thank you. That's my norm now. I take a breathing pill. I have So I said the rhinitis. I have the spot in my lower airway, PTSD, anxiety, gastroreflux disease, obstructive sleep apnea, in the asthma, COPD overlap syndrome, I have COPD. I'm 46 years old. And at the age of 42, I take the Theophylline 600. That's a lot. That's at my 9/11. They didn't want me to take that pill. It's like a breathing pill. It keeps my capillaries open. And actually it helps me, so I don't get it. I guess it keeps my airways open so they don't swell and shut, because I go from like a common cold to I can't breathe and I think I'm dying. And I'm on, like, the normal person takes a prednisone pill, like a 50, 40, 30, that regimen. Well, I'll take 50 milligrams for a week, 40 milligrams for a week. So I take a lot of medicine and I'm sick. I'm not as sick as my sickness is manageable by medicine. Thank God. I don't like it, I don't know how long I'm going to be dealing with it, because COP has life expectancies too, and I read. But like my brother Mike, that's, you know, it's not fixable, his stuff, which I'm gonna let you hear from him and Mark. I can't think of anything else except that you know, it's my family's been affected by this. Our whole family, I'll say that. My wife has put up with me, my moods. You know, if my brother Mike is real not having sick, and I got to hear it from my mom, subconsciously, like, it eats at me. I might be angry with like Mark or Mike, but we're all sick, and we went through the same thing, and we're sick from the same nonsense. And so I'm learning now to put the shit to the side and just, we got to stick together, because who knows? You know, I look at my brother, he's on dialysis. Anyone knows when you're on dialysis, it is what it is. So here's Mike.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Hi, I'm back. So after going down to the city I did 11 days in the city. Like Chris did the most in the city. He was there all the time, but I did 11 days, and after 11 days in my book, I felt that everyone had been dead. You know, 11 days to me was pretty much, it brought me to around like October 1st, because I didn't go every day. So like I would go, you know, maybe 2 days, and then, you know, I'd sleep in the city and be there, and then I'd come home and go to work, and then I'd go back to the city. And so I only did, you know, 11 days. And like I said, I didn't find anybody. I, you know, did the bucket brigade and stuff like that. And, you know, that should have been the end of my story. And then I guess it was maybe 2005, maybe three years later, I started urinating blood. And, you know, I went to the doctors, and, you know, they thought I had an ulcer or something like that. So I went to a urologist, and the urologist told me that you only bleed, you know, 3 ways: your kidneys, your bladder, and your urethra. And since I checked your urethra and your bladder, you know, the only way you could be possibly bleeding now is from your kidneys. So you're in the wrong department. You're going to have to see a nephrologist. So I went from a urologist to a nephrologist. And then they said I was definitely bleeding from my kidneys. They were unsure what was wrong with me. So I had bone marrow biopsy, kidney biopsy. And then when they got my results, they said they had never seen anything of what I had, and they sent it to a specialist. And the specialist said he has no idea what I have, and he's the renowned specialist, and he suggests I go to the Mayo Clinic, and maybe they could, you know, figure it out, because he has no idea. So I went all the way up to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota to see what, you know, if they could stop my kidneys from failing. And their only thing they could come up with, because they had never seen my disease, was they wanted to treat me with chemotherapy, and I would be the first person to undergo it. And they were unsure on how my reaction would be, because I don't have cancer, I have a disease. And I wasn't really willing to be the first participant of chemo on a disease that they, you know, were going to make me like a what do you call it? A guinea pig. So I didn't do it. I refused to do chemo. And then 3 years later, my kidneys failed, and that was February of this year, of 2020. My kidneys failed completely, and they put a port in my stomach, and I'm on dialysis, and I have to do dialysis every day, and I need a kidney transplant, and that's where I'm at. I'm on dialysis with a kidney transplant. I have chronic bronchitis, or chronic bronchitis, chronic sinusitis, rhinitis. I have all the stuff that my brother has, except PTSD, anxiety, all that other crap. I need a kidney transplant. That's what I need. So that sucks. And
I'm
that's
so sorry.
that's what I do now.
Before we talk to Mark, what are the health effects on your father?
My father had a heart attack after 9/11. They had him working, you know, crazy 14, 16-hour days, I think it was. And he did it for like a year and a half. He worked
mandatory 12-hour shifts for 18 months.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it was also.
he had 12-hour shifts for 18 months, and
One day off,
afterwards
one day off.
he had 1 day off, and
that
then
day off,
he had a heart attack.
they would let him
after
work
that.
if he wanted to, and they would put him up for a couple hours. He worked all the time.
So he had a heart attack, and now he has he retired. He had a stroke, bunch of mini strokes, and he has spots on his lungs and stuff like that.
Sinusitis.
Yeah, he's sick too.
Oh, I forgot it.
And Mark?
Mark's got here, hold on.
Hey, I'm back. So you were saying, so I went back a bunch of times after the initial 9/11, the day of 9/11. So I went back Saturday. Did whatever I could. I went a lot of times because even after it was all over, you knew nobody was alive. Even months later, I just wanted to see the progression because I worked in Newark and I was living with my father, so my father was never home. So even like up until June or July, I mean, I went back to see all the progression. So I was always there. But my conditions, I have chronic rhinitis, sinusitis, sleep apnea, GERD. I had a tumor removed from my right side in 2014. I have nasal polyps, anxiety, and a lot of anxiety, PTSD. I'm 43. I just turned 44, but I had I was defecating blood for a while. So I went to go see Dr. Udison, and Dr. Udison wanted me to go get a colonoscopy. So I just had a colonoscopy the week before July 4th.
He had a medical breakdown.
Yeah. And so I had my colonoscopy. They found 2 polyps. One was like 5 centimeters, one was like 10 centimeters. And they found a third polyp, which was a different kind of polyp. It was like 30 centimeters, almost 3/4 of an inch. And I guess he said if that would have been in me for like another year, it would have been colon cancer. So make a long story short, I'm in recovery. They're sending me out of the hospital, and I'm walking out. I see my wife in the car. I'm getting ready to open the hospital doors. All of a sudden, I felt I had to go to the bathroom. I said to the nurse, "Do you have a bathroom?" She showed me the bathroom. I went in, and it was all blood. So I opened the door. She was like, "Holy crap!" She threw me in the wheelchair, brought me back downstairs. I went to the ER. I wound up having emergency surgery because the doctor, I guess, messed up when he clipped the big polyp out of me. And I woke up and I had a blood transfusion. I had to get 2 bags of blood, so I almost died. So it was kind of crazy because I remember laying there. It was like an hour went by. I'm like, holy shit! Like I'm still bleeding. And yeah, it was. And then when I started getting dizzy and I couldn't really, everything started like fading out. And finally, they finally got me in there to do the emergency surgery. I had a mental breakdown. I was in a hospital for about 4 days, 5 days. I was in the carrier clinic. I'm young. I was really young, and watching my brothers, my own problems, and watching my brothers. It's been tough, and I didn't accept being sick because you got to remember 2001 happened. I started getting sick in January 2002. I started throwing up in my mouth, and that's when I started going to my primary. And they said, "Oh, you got indigestion," so they gave me Nexium. I was like, "Okay," and then I started getting like sinus infections. I mean, I average like 9 to 10 sinus infections a year, so I have to eventually get nasal surgery because I got polyps. And where was I? Lost my train of thought for a second. So
You're just a wreck.
He is. He really is a wreck.
it's so back to what I was saying. So I was young. So in 2006, my brother's like, "Oh, you got to go to get checked out for 9/11." I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I said, I'm fine." He was like, "No, you got to go get checked out." So I kind of blew it off because you got to remember when Governor Whitman told everybody. I mean, I remember going into the city and all they talked about how the air quality was fine. So for all those, they always talk about the air quality. And so I was up until 2011, I was in denial about being sick because I said, there's no way the government want to lie to us. No possible way we can get sick from ground zero. They said it was safe. And I remember hearing on, Z100 all the time. And And then I got married in 2008. I had my first kid 2009, my second kid 2010. So I was still in denial. So, you know, now I'm a new husband, new dad, and now I'm sick, and now this is the life I'm living. And, you know, I feel bad for my wife and kids, but I'm trying my best. You know, I can't work. And, you know, I went through the whole entire process of workman's comp like my brothers did, and it was absolutely disgusting that it took us. I mean,
They don't even pay for our medical marijuana. They
yeah, it's. I should be getting ready to retire right now from a job. So should my brothers. I should be getting a good amount of money. I mean, I make peanuts. And it's just this whole thing's just been a disaster. You know, it's something that I got to live with every day. I got to talk to my brothers as much as I can, see them as much as I can. But as far as like, it's my brother's on dialysis. He's fucking 46 years old. I'm sorry, 48 now, right? 48, 40. It's just, you know what it is? You don't know what, you know, most people are like, oh, you can't really wonder. But for us, it's like, what comes next? Like, what comes next? Because now I have to go next Monday for another colonoscopy because the doctor never took the rest of that polyp out of me. So I have to get the rest of it removed. So it just never ends. I mean, we're living our lives of doctor's office visits and fucking tests. That's like, and seeing psychologists once a week and psychiatrists once a month. So, you know, it's taken a toll on all of us, my whole family.
Do you have regrets, and are you angry?
I'm very angry. I'm the angriest I'm at is because we were lied to. I mean, the only thing I can say is at least the Russians, when Chernobyl happened, they told the people, hey, if you want to be heroes, we'll take care of your family. And if you live, we'll take care of you. Us, they lied to us for all these years. And the compensation is,
you need to have cancer to get money. Like, I don't have cancer, and I didn't get a lot of money. I lost my house. Like, you know, where's my American dream?
You know, I went down to help out people, and now I'm sick as shit. And I lost my house because of it, because the bank doesn't care. I can't work. I can't, you know, pay my bills. They don't want to hear that, you know, and I can't work because I'm sick. I'm sick because I went down to 9/11. So the bottom line is I lost my house. And that, you know, I just feel like a loser. I lost my house. I lost my marriage. I lost my health.
Not only that,
I lost my job. You know, I mean, it's just, you just keep losing. I mean, I live with my girlfriend now. She pays the thing. I mean, if we're great, everything's fine. But I mean, realistically, if she wanted to throw me out, where am I going? I don't have a house. You know, I don't have anything.
Do you all regret doing what you did?
Not one bit. I don't regret it. You know why?
I regret going down there because I went down there to find people and I didn't find anybody. And I do believe they used this because they had to clean up New York City. They had to get it.
They had to get the stock
They had
market
to get
open.
the stock market back.
100%.
They had to get stuff back to normal. And
How do you tell American people that we can't ever go back to Manhattan? You could never tell American people, hey, we have to leave it like, you know, where they dropped the A-bomb in Nevada? Go try to go over there and go in there. You can't. Go by Canary Islands where they dropped the A-bomb. You can't go near it. Why? Because when I got registered in that program, I never forget Dr. Udison, the psychologist, their pulmonologist, and they said, hello, Mr. This is Dr. Udison. I love her to death. Hi, Christopher. I'm Dr. Udison, and I'm going to monitor your health for the rest of your life. I looked at her, I go, for the rest of my life? She's like, do you know what a catastrophic event is? So I looked at her, I looked at the team and I go, yeah. She's like, can you name one? I go, Hiroshima. They were like, excellent. And I stood up and I said, are you telling me I'm going to die of cancer? Oh, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to monitor your health. I forgot to add in 2018, if I take these out, these are hearing aids. I was one of the first New Jersey police officers to get a phone call, and I didn't ask. I was hoping they would tell me I was going deaf from shooting guns. And they told me, no, you've been exposed to a toxin that they found in 2018, and it's going to deteriorate. It deteriorates hearing, eyesight and sinuses. Well, I got to take Advil cold and sinus. I live on it every day. It's got, if I don't take that, I can't breathe. Like, you know, in my Zizol and my Theophylline and my Singular 10 and my my inhalers.
How old were you all when you all retired?
I was in my 30s, late 30s, I guess, like 36.
I was 35. No, you were, yeah. I was 30.
I actually was, I should have retired when she found that spot in my leg. And if you even asked Dr. Unison, this lady used to constantly tell me, Christopher, I think you need to look for a new line of work. And I said, Doc, are you nuts? I got freaking kids. I'm not going on disability and crap. Christopher, you're sick. I didn't go out. I didn't want to do anything because I was a police officer and I had carried a gun. But my PTSD, you mentioned PTSD, as a cop on my department, they take your gun. So, you know, I didn't want to retire, try to go and, you know, so I stayed on the job and I actually got hurt in the line of duty. And I say it was a blessing because I blew my shoulder and it was an injury that I was able to get a pension and leave the job that way. And then I went right and started checking on my lungs because then I was allowed to mention PTSD. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want to say it when I was going through my pension because they would have said I was crazy and they would have gave me no pension. It's a game. It's disgusting. Just like my 9/11 psychiatrist says, now I was a cop that did not believe in marijuana. Like I just didn't believe in it. It was, I worked in Newark, everybody smoked it. And you could ask my two brothers, I would tell you, if you smoked pot, you were a junkie. That's what I would say. It was my vocabulary. Oh, yeah, whatever, dude, like a junkie, rely on alcohol. Like that was me. For me to smoke marijuana, people hated me. Like, who the hell is he? But when 9/11 doctors, and I trust them, said, look, Mr. Megna, you take a lot of PTSD medicine, other medicines for your stomach. And I met a rescue worker, this guy, Greg Fodor. I met him up by my house. He was a lieutenant, NY Fire, great dude. And he's the one who told me, you know, you should smoke some pot. And I was like, what? I said, no, thank you. And he goes, listen, I bet you I know what's wrong with you. And he named my illnesses. So now I thought he was some spy. And I'm like, dude, who are you?
But
He's like,
how do you smoke pot with breathing issues?
Well, my pulmonologist says if it doesn't, like here, marijuana is it's a anti-inflammatory smoke. Okay, people don't. It's a healing smoke. Been around. It grows from the earth. It does never. I never smoked a cigarette in my life. First thing I asked my 9/11 pulmonologist, if you tell me not to do this, I will stop tomorrow. He says, not going to tell you. It has nothing to do with your lungs, Mr. Megna. It doesn't. If it doesn't give you it doesn't destroy your lungs like tar and nicotine. He goes, does it make you cough? I said, not at all. I said, it actually calms me down a little bit. He goes, then I'd like you to continue smoking. And as a matter of fact, when you were very sick, I said, I still smoke it. You know why? It's a breathing exercise for me. When you smoke marijuana, what are you doing? I'm exercising my capillaries. So when I'm sick, I can't, my chest hurts. So I'm forcing myself to exercise, believe it or not. So in my stomach, Dr. Unison had me taking Nexium for 5 years and Dexilent for 5 years. Okay. Well, guess what? Those medicines, all medicines kill your liver, your insides. And what do I think about? Well, my brother Mike has kidney disease. I have a friend that got it. Everything goes to your kidneys. So I take a lot of pills. I don't want to take pills. So this was a relief for me not to take a couple pills. They lowered some of my anxiety medicine, believe it or not, which was phenomenal. But again, why are we paying for this medication? New York City, like we went down there, they prescribe it and they tell us, well, it's not federally legal, but you prescribe it. So again, I'm wasting my money. And I had Lee London and Bash McGarry. So I settled my case. Great law firm. I want to thank Mr. Zadroga for getting this whole thing going with the Zadroga Fund, because I spoke to him, actually, the father, when my brother was fighting everything. Because again, how do you not certify kidney disease? They should be, listen, how do you not certify hearing loss? Are we making this up? We're not making this up. They told me, Mr. Megna, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, but we'll only pay for A, B, C, and D. Oh, and with this victim compensation, they don't pay for anxiety and PTSD. My brother had to go to a mental institution, but then that's not, your brain's not worth any monetary value. That's what the VCF says. So things got to change. Things got to change. My brother's got to get a certification for his kidney disease. Not only my brother, and Mike cares about Mike, but I care about everybody. People that are sick need to get the certifications they need. This autoimmune deficiency disease, they certified every cancer in the book. Awesome. They should. I met a lady down there here real quick. I met a lady when we saw that big tire. Like my brother will never forget. I'll never forget that tire in the middle of the street from the airplane. Cause I was like, I never got up that close to an airplane tire that I could touch it. And I was like, damn, it didn't look like it belonged there. You know what I'm saying? It didn't look like it belonged there. And I remember there was a Starbucks, like along the, somewhere on the outskirts. And it was so cool because everybody wanted to help and they hooked up generators. And I remember going in there, right? And like everything was broken, but they hooked up a generator and this lady was serving like coffee. She was giving you cigarettes, chewing tobacco. She gave you whatever you wanted. And, me, I was smiling. And years later, I move up to where I moved to. And I'm in a getting my hair cut. And this woman is coughing her brains out. I said to her, you sound like me when I'm sick. She's like, oh God, ever since I went down to ground zero. I turned, I looked at her, I said, were you in the Starbucks and we're working for the, what's that place? No, hold on. The Red Cross. I said, were you working for the Red Cross? This lady cried. She's super sick right now. A friend of mine gets his hair cut and he says, hey, do you know Kim? I said, yeah, I've talked to her. She's got to get into the program and blah, blah, blah. Just, what I would like to see happen, I'd like to see things get changed. I'd like to see more certifications. I think Bash McGarry and them and Mike are doing a great job what they're doing. John Stewart, what they're doing, but more has to get done. This guy, if there's only one doctor, Mike, what's the doctor that does the certifications name? Howard, or maybe there's got to be more doctors. And I know we can't rush everything to be done right away, but it's been 20 years. How many more people are going to get sick and die? We aren't getting better. And I'm watching every time I talk to somebody. Oh yeah. And people, and here's what's New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, like we know, but what about the cops that I met in Seattle, Washington, Arizona? There was people that got in their cars and just drove because the city needed help, and like Marky said, and Mike said, they left us there to clean up that entire city. Now, if you were born tomorrow, you don't know nothing about what that city looked like unless we teach about it with history, and I don't know. Let's give the phone back to Mike. I'm back.
Anything else you want to add, Mike?
Nothing. I think Chris hit it on the head as far as they, like I said, the certifications, it's been 20 years. And the way they work with the certifications is if you don't have a certification, they don't want to hear you. They don't admit that it's their problem, and you get no compensation and you get no medical help. So as far as like my kidney disease, that's all been the VA. I've been going back and forth, thank God I was a Marine, and thank God I have the VA, because otherwise I would have to pay all this stuff out of pocket, all this, and I got sick down there and they haven't, it's so frustrating to know that, I have doctor's letters saying that I'm sick from 9/11, that, what I inhaled down there has deteriorated and destroyed my kidneys, and it's all factual. And I hand all those papers in and, hey, looking for a certification, and I get nothing. And like I said, when you don't have a certification, when you go to the 9/11 doctors, they don't want to hear about your kidney disease because it's not certified. They only want to they can only treat you for what is a certified condition. So like I said, my kidney disease, I contacted Barish and McGarry. I said, I've got nothing, zero. I've lost everything. And they said, what we're going to do? We're going to combine your sleep apnea with your bronchitis and this and that. And you're going to have to go in front of a board. And, explain that the reason why you can't work is because of your sinus. And I said, well, the reason why I don't work is because of my kidneys. Well, you can't mention that because it's not a certified condition. So you have to just mention what's certified. So I basically go in front of a bunch of people and tell them, you know, hey, look, I can't breathe and I can't sleep. And because I can't sleep and breathe, I can't work. And I had to like, just like maneuver my words to make it like a play on thing, when the truth is I'm fucking, you know, I'm sick because of my kidneys. You know, my kidneys, they control everything. Your blood pressure. I have high blood pressure. I have gout. I have gout so much I can't even walk at times. And now my new thing is my skin's itchy, because your skin is an organ and it's controlled by your kidneys, and my kidneys are screwed up. So I itch all the time like a junkie. Like I itch for hours. I itch till I bleed. It's just like horrible. And it's just frustrating to know that, you know, I didn't ask for anything. You know, I went down, I helped out, and that was it. I didn't ask for a thing. And now it's like, you know, I can ask for everything I want, and they just look at me like, you know, like I'm in a glass bubble and they can't help me. Like, sorry, you know, we know you're sick, we know this, but there's nothing we can do. You don't have a certified condition, which makes me want to choke these doctors. Like, you know,
He's so angry.
I am. I'm not showing it, but I'm beyond
I'm very
frustrated and
proud of
angry. I've broken my hands, I've broken my feet, I've kicked holes in walls, I've punched windshields, I've gone through 3 different windshields, I've broken tables.
His kids are suffering too.
Yeah, my kids watch me do it, you know, like they just watch me unfold and become some horrible man that, you know, destroys everything I bought. You know, like I broke my windshield, I gotta get it replaced. You know, I put holes in the wall, I gotta get it replaced. So it's just like, you know, I smoke pot now too, because I need to calm down. You know, I can't be on edge all the time. It's just not a way to live.
Dr. Usen called me and said,
They don't even like to see me. Like when I go to see the doctors, they'll call my brother Chris. They'll be like, "Can you come with him next time?" We're afraid of him,
they are.
you know, because I curse and I yell, and yeah, I curse and yell because they're not sick. You know, they're not sick. They're telling me to calm down. You know, I don't know when. You know, honestly, I think I'm gonna die every day. Like, you know, I tell my kids, you know, when I'm dead, I want to be buried in my camis, you know, and I want, you know, bottles of water. And I tell them this because I'm serious. And then I watch them cry, you know, and I'm not doing it to upset them.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Well, people will know about your suffering. Do you guys all have World Trade Center health card plans? You know, the
Yep.
cards?
Yeah.
You want to hold them up? I can't
Sure.
see the cameras. The light keeps going off and on.
Do you have yours? I got mine in
Mine's
my
up.
wallet.
Mine's in my.
Hold on.
I carry mine.
But back to what I was telling you before. So like Mike was saying, I had that colonoscopy. And then I called Workman's Comp and I tell her, because now it's obviously there's a problem with my intestines, my lower intestines. So of course the lady's like, oh, that's not certified. Now we're gonna have to set up a court date and get a letter from the doctor. So like Mike was saying, it's been, when you need help, you got to fight for everything. And it's been it's been heartbreaking. And then I had to go through the whole entire Workman's Comp. Like I had to take it to trial because the insurance carrier, which I never knew, I never knew nothing about this. They were trying to say that I wasn't disabled, and I had to actually go the whole entire trial. I mean, obviously I won it because I proved my case, but you know, the thing I learned from all this is that when you're legitimately sick, nobody gives a shit, nobody cares. And then you go, and then they send you all these Workman Comp doctors, and they say, oh no, he's fine. I'm looking at the guy, like I get the report back, I'm like, this isn't even what I said. That's not even that. Like they downplay all your injuries. And then Workman Comp's trying to say, oh, he's, you know, only 88%, you know, disabled. The whole system needs to be revamped, because obviously it's disgusting how you're treated once you become injured. Nobody cares. So that's what we're, you know, dealing with. Jesus, Chris, what you got the things? All right, here's the cards. Mine's,
There's my card.
I feel like a lot of our life was taken from us because all the times I've been sick. I mean, all those years I worked, I mean, I used to have to max out my sick days for sinus infections and all like stuff that started adding up to, that was 9/11 related, but I was still in denial, which I'm still in denial.
And I tell you, right? So I've always volunteered at this place called St. Paul's Abbey. And when I got when they told me like you have COPD, and I realized like, the doctor's like, Chris, you're sick. He used to say to me, they do these PFT tests where they take blood out of your artery in my wrist, which is like painful. They got a Novocaine it, and that shows your true level of oxygen. So the doctor always says to me, my age and all the medication I take, you're sick, Mr. Megna. I get about 10 minutes of full exertion and I'm done. So if I can't like kick your ass in 10 minutes, forget about it. I'm done. I can't breathe. And it's the worst feeling of my life, and I was at this St. Paul's Abbey, and I was in it's a monastery, and people always say like, dude, I'd love to have your life. I volunteer at a church every day. You know why? Because I'm a Catholic, and I've always been a devoted Catholic, but there's nothing better from knowing that I'm going to die. I spend all my time. My best friend, you guys, my brothers, is a freaking priest. No, he's a priest. He's a Benedictine priest. And you know what he said to me? You need to stay on monastery and help me. That will make you feel better. He knew I liked the title, and I don't have a title anymore, man. I can't. I'm disabled. So he made me a volunteer security guard. And I laugh because the guy looks at me and he says, you are very sick, but you're a Catholic and he'll take when you want. But I watch people die every day with this coronavirus, with this and with that. So I do believe in my faith. I do believe, he'll take me when he wants to take me. But like my friends cannot believe that I live on this monastery. When I got my settlement, I wouldn't leave Andover, New Jersey, because I'm sick and dying and I want to be close to the monastery. Is that crazy? But no, that's me. My best friend, he'll tell you, he calls me stupid. That's my nickname. He's Korean. They're Korean monks. And I got to say, it's just emotional right now because, I go to that cemetery every day and I pray for my brother Mike, for my brother Mark, and for anybody else that's sick. That's what I do. And if you're fucking sick, I talk to them. I'm not a fucking psychiatrist. I have more mental problems than anybody. But I have no problem talking to somebody and making them feel better because that makes me feel better. So that's what I do. And I just wanted to share that with you.
I'm good.
I'm so sorry, but thank you, all of you, for sharing. I'm just so sorry, but
And my brother Mike, he is playing it down. When I tell you anger, what would you feel like if you have siblings, right?
sure.
Yeah. Picture looking at your sibling and knowing everything you've been through. And me and him were tight. We were real tight. But when you're sick, it's all about you. And I have to understand. And I said some shitty shit to him. It's not my way. It's because I think a certain way. He thinks a certain way. And we're different people. But I just want to tell him, I love you, Mike.
I'm back.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Spread the word, people who need to tell their stories. And people need to sign up for the program.
Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thank you.